could cook up to have him ready for week one. Hawk says whatever it is, it's going to be good. He'll explain. That's like something's going to pop up at some point. But Lindsey Theory is at Cowboys practice joining us now. Lindsey, what stood out to you at camp today?
Dak Prescott took the field, fans singing happy birthday as the Cowboys quarterback turns 33 today. And as he goes into his 11th season, Coach Brian Schottenheimer saying that he is as curious as ever how to get better every single day, and that the biggest fights between the two continue to be about how many reps at practice Dak will take. You heard Schottenheimer mention it, but all players here are accounted for, healthy, and there's no squabbles coming into training camp. That includes receiver George Pickens. I asked Schottenheimer about Pickens and how he has responded since being placed on the franchise tag. Schottenheimer telling me, and he says he also shared this with Pickens this morning, that he is as dialed in as he has ever seen him. Schottenheimer continuing that he expects him to be very motivated through camp and going into the season. And he says that's good news for us, maybe bad news for the rest of the league.
I like the confidence. We continue our camp tour. You hear the horn beeping there for the Kansas City Chiefs as their bus arrives at our camp tour. Andy Reid giving updates on how veterans Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce looked today on the official start of camp.
Yeah, he looked pretty good today, I thought. Strong. You see the strength in his legs, and which is important with a leg injury. You kind of look at that first, see how his feet are moving. His feet are moving well.
Coach, day one of year 14 for Travis. Does it surprise you at all? He's still out there doing what he's doing?
Yeah, he looked pretty good, Yeah, he looked pretty good. Yeah. He stayed in shape. He did a lot of dancing at his wedding.
We keep hearing that people were dancing at that wedding as Ben Solak joins us here. He's on the scene there in Kansas City. And Ben, what did you see from Mahomes at camp today as he tries to work his way back from the knee injury?
I saw him doing everything, right? All 11 on 11, all 7 on 7, all drills with all the quarterbacks. He did not take a step off the practice field. Oftentimes when players are rehabbing from injury, they spend time on a side field working out, or they go into the facility for treatment. Such was the case with cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, wide receiver Rashee Rice, both coming off of major injuries. They had, as Reid called them, scheduled rest days, rehab days, where they were present for the first half of practice, but then went into the facility for treatment. Mahomes just looked like a guy on the field who, yes, is wearing a brace on his left leg, and he was finicking with it over the course of practice, adjusting it, tightening the straps, loosening the straps. He's expected to play with that in week one and perhaps for the entirety of the season. They'll kind of feel it out as they go. And so it is a different Mahomes. It's a Mahomes with a brace. It's a Mahomes who's being maybe a little bit more cautious, but he had a full menu of reps here on day one of training camp. They'll continue to take it a day at a time. But right now, there's a lot of optimism about Patrick Mahomes' health in Kansas City.
Yeah, Ben, music to Chiefs fans' ears. We love to hear it. Feels like week one, he should be ready to go. We appreciate you. Mahomes and Kansas City, by the way, trying to get back to their winning ways, right? Last year, the Chiefs had their first losing season of the Andy Reid era, snapped a streak of 7 straight AFC Championship appearances, one shy of the longest streak in NFL history. It was also the first time they did not win the division since 2015. It's like 10 years ago, right? The Chiefs are currently favored to bounce back and win the AFC West this season. You heard that? They're favored to win the AFC West. All right, Hawk. How much pressure do you feel like is on Mahomes and this offense to start out hot out of the gate? Reminder, they have the Broncos on Monday Night Football to begin the season. That's a really tough defense.
I think it's under an extreme amount of pressure just because there's so many implications that could play into their entire season, right? Like if Patrick Mahomes isn't healthy for week one, and we've heard reports that, yes, he's trying to play, it's up in the air about the preseason. Broncos are a really good football team. But the problem is you don't get an opportunity to get those game-like reps for your offense to catch its stride, especially with Eric Bieniemy back in the fold, Kenneth Walker and the hopeful better run game. And the reason why that's a big deal is because, yeah, they play the Colts the next week, but after week 2, they go on the road for 8 of 11 games. And then that stretch includes the Seahawks, the Bills, the Rams, the Chargers, the Bengals, really, really good AFC football teams. And I think the AFC playoff picture is going to come down to a game or two, so you can't afford a slow start for the Kansas City Chiefs just because of the amount of competition in the conference.
Yeah, Lewis, no doubt a lot of changes to this team this season as well. They've lost a lot of big names. But what do they need to see from their rookie class this year? These guys are going to have to contribute pretty early.
Yeah, honestly, on both sides of the ball. Let's just start on offense real quick, because then we'll get to defense where most of the other guys are. But look, Emmett Johnson, who's going to be a rookie running back, who's going to back up Kenneth Walker, he has to be big. He has to be able to spell a guy like Kenneth Walker, and so the running game can really get going. A guy like Cyrus Allen, who they drafted out of Cincinnati at wide receiver, he's going to have to play a role. He has kind of made a mark in this offseason already. Then we jump to the defense, which really, Laura, along with the offensive line, is going to be the unit that has to really come out of the gate smoking, and the rookies have to come out of the gate smoking. Up front, it's going to be about Peter Woods and R. Mason Thomas. Peter Woods inside, R. Mason Thomas outside. Peter has to help out Chris Jones push the pocket. R. Mason, he's the burner off the edge from Oklahoma who can just absolutely speed rush with the very best of them. Those two young dudes, have to play like veterans. Mansour Delane, there may not be a more important guy on this roster outside of the quarterback, simply because in Steve Spagnuolo's system, he's going to be asked to do what he does best, what he showed he does best both at Virginia Tech and at LSU, which is get up on the line of scrimmage, play physical, tough, in-your-face, man-to-man press coverage, and shut people down. Jaden Kennedy, 4th-round pick from Oregon, can play safety, can play nickel. Look, they've done a great job of bringing along young players in the past, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Think a couple years ago in the Super Bowl, the kinds of roles that these young men played. They're going to need to do it again. So both Steve Spagnuolo and David Merritt, they're a fantastic secondary coach. They're up on it. They're up to bat again, and they have to deliver, and these guys have to deliver.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how it goes. By the way, it's not like they were far off last year, even though it didn't go the way the Chiefs would like it to go. They were 1-9 in one-score games after they went 11-0 in those types of games in 2024. So there's a slight difference maybe with some of this young talent who's going to have to step up, to your point. New on NFL Live, some injury news around the league. Adam, what do we need to know?
The Saints' former first-round draft pick Brian Windhorst went down today with an injury that is thought to be a torn ACL, according to NFL Network. That would be a devastating blow to a Saints defense, considering how much they lean on him and how important he is. You hate injuries. You really hate injuries early in training camp. Very difficult to replace a player as good as this. And the 49ers are dealing with their own injury. Ricky Pearsall has a PCL injury that he suffered last year. It's acting up. The team is concerned about it. They're looking at it right now to figure out the best way to address it. But Ricky Pearsall continuing to struggle to stay healthy. And look who was on the practice field today for the New York Giants. Malik Neighbors going through individual drills. He looked good out there. That was an encouraging sign for his availability for opening night against the Dallas Cowboys. If he's moving like that this early in camp, that tells you there's a real chance that he's going to be out there opening night against the Dallas Cowboys.
That's what we've all been trying to pay attention to with the Giants, so we'll keep an eye on Neighbors, but I agree, Adam, great to see him out there. Now, up next, fully underway. There's Josh Allen making his way out to the practice field today. The Bills start their journey to this season. A little rainy out there, but that doesn't stop anybody there in Buffalo, right? Travis Kelce also back after a busy offseason. He looks like he's all business in year 14. We'll talk more about Kelce and his quarterback. And Lamar Jackson getting the crowd excited out there at Ravens camp today. Hear what he had to say about his new OC, Declan Doyle. That's coming your way later on in the show. Look at the fans clamoring for Lamar. You'd love to see it as we welcome you in. Adam Schefter, Lewis Redick, Andrew Hawkins, all here for the hour. Boys, we got a lot to get to. Let's start with some injury news in Atlanta. Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was not out at practice today because he's dealing with a tight back. And remember, Michael Penix still not practicing due to a knee injury. So here's Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, and Penix with updates earlier today on this QB room in Atlanta.
Tua is dealing with an injury right now. It's not long-term. He'll be out there sooner than later, but we'll work through that in the next couple of days. Every player, every injury you treat differently, and you treat based on the how the person's doing, the checkpoints, all those things. He's hitting every single checkpoint, so I'm very, very confident in the plan.
They giving you any benchmarks, like, hey, if you can do this by then?
Right now we just seeing where I'm at, and just trusting the process. It's more seeing how my body is feeling, with these practices. But I know I was told that another 4 weeks possibly going into that next stage. But at the same time, it could be earlier. It just depending on how my body is doing throughout this whole camp process.
A lot to unpack there, an actual timeline potentially for Michael Penix, and you hear that maybe Adam Tua's injury is not that severe. What more can you tell us about the Atlanta quarterback room?
Lord, he woke up recently and had some tightness in his lower back glute area. They've worked on it. They don't believe it's anything serious. And as you heard Kevin Stefanski say there, he'll be back sooner rather than later. Certainly by next week is the expectation, maybe even sooner. As for Michael Penix himself, you heard what he had to say about his particular situation. And it's not so much that they'll only be missing him during that time, but he'll miss the work with the new offense, with the new coaching staff. And so that's a little bit of a setback for a competition at the quarterback position that they were hoping to have. And when Michael Penix comes back, he comes back and joins a race that Tua Tagovailoa is already running, which obviously could impact the ultimate decision that the Falcons make at the starting quarterback position. So with Tua Tagovailoa dealing with a short-term muscle issue, with Michael Penix dealing with another back issue or knee issue that'll sideline him for another month, they did sign Cooper Rush today. So one more quarterback to add to the Falcons quarterback room.
Yeah, Cooper Rush, certainly a veteran in the league. Hawk, it's obviously